Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Restart Your Business, Recharge Your Life. And today we have Ana Franca-Ferreira with us. She's a freelance civil society strategist and social science researcher. And today we're going to talk about the social impact in companies, which I believe it's a very important subject to be considered. And well, she's going to give us some tips, and also she's going to talk about it as it's something that she does in her day-to-day work life. So hello, Anna, thank you for accepting this invitation. Welcome.
Thank you.
So to start, we can start maybe by talking about what do you mean when you say social impact, because we can have an idea of what social impact is. Everybody lives social impact is very strong in all, like in our social life, in businesses. But what do you mean about this? Like, you can explain us, what do you really need
Yeah.
want to talk about?
Yeah. Thank you. So it's very interesting because we're all thinking about social impact in many ways, but I think the easiest way to think about social impact is an action or something that we do or the organizations can do to strengthen society. So it could be a project, could be a program, could be some donations, could be anything, but just thinking about what can bring us closer to the world as it should be, what can bring us closer to what we wish the world was. And I just think social impact, there are so many ways of thinking about it. But I think today, if I'll try to cover a little bit how organizations can think about social impact, how maybe private organizations that are doing some work, they're doing well, and want to start thinking about how they can use a little bit of social responsibility and think about how they can create impact of the work they do anyway, or if they just have some extra funding and they want to invest in a local community, in a local area, in a project, and how to do that. And so just take a step back, and I think often when we think about social impact, we're thinking about social issues and social pathologies, like what are the issues in society that we want to address, like homelessness or lack of education, or like what are the issues. And the truth is, so government has some responsibility, or a lot of responsibility, but government can't really tackle everything by themselves. So that's the truth. They can't just take on everything and say, I'll deal with everything. And especially after pandemics, like the ones that we're going through at the moment, they are taking so much of the financial hit of what's happening. So if everybody in society does a little bit and helps a little bit, then there's a way of us getting a bit closer to what we want the world to be, and how that can affect the work of businesses and everybody else. So it's like thinking about the world should be thinking about where it is now and how we can make that happen, how we can see that happen. What's the journey like?
Because now that you said some of good examples, but I will just want to ask, like, when you consider social impact, you're talking about companies taking care of what you said, homeless people and things that are going outside of the company, or also social impact inside a company. I don't know, like you mentioned, my idea or my example will be like, for example, mental health. This will be a social impact that companies will do inside the company for their workers. This is something that it can be considered.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, there are different ways of thinking about it. So some companies, they look at social impact in terms of like their own community, their own organizations, like the health and well-being of their staff. And but some companies feel a little bit ready, or a little bit in the place that they want a little bit more, and they have the scope and the availability to do a bit more, and they can take on impact outside of the workplace, and that's fine. And but just thinking, it's okay to do either, but which one do you want to do? And considering all of them as a potential good thing for the company, as a benefit for everybody, really.
Okay, I got it. And then, for example, now that we're talking about the Restart Your Business, Recharge Your Life, how how could we put these conversations that we're having of considering the social impact inside the idea or the logic of this topic that it's our talks?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, so if you think about social impact and if you think about what the needs are of the businesses right now, and then you start thinking what the needs of the business could be in 3, 5, 10 years, and then you start looking at society. So let's say, for example, you have a very specific type of workforce that you need to do your job. So so how can you, and if you don't have that at the moment, so would you be able to invest a little bit in training people to become your future workforce, or to be doing more of that in the future? Or so that's one way of thinking about it. And just what is the need? So I think social impact, the best types of social impact I've seen is when it's worked in collaboration, when you as an organization need something and then you work with people that need that too, and then you collaborate. And so it's like a relationship of interest, right? So you have an interest, there's people that have interest to learn something, to develop something, and that is a collaboration of interest. And that is in itself is a great way of thinking about your needs in the future and dealing with it right now.
So also, well, for what you're saying, I mean, like social impact can be like so many things, can be like specific things, right? As you said, like helping homeless people, helping people, well, helping a group of organization that really need businesses to get involved, but as well like just small things as like giving training somebody. Like, I mean, it's crazy, right? That you can have like so much social impact on how you do training to one of
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I got the idea because, for example, I got the social impact that it's something like we always have impacts in everybody. We always leave a little bit of ourselves, but I wanted to know more deep down, and now I got it. So thank you. So, and now, for example, that we were talking about businesses and organizations, how organizations and companies can consider this type of social impact, like how they consider that this is a social impact and how they do it or what they do.
Yeah, so I kind of explain a little bit. So you can look at collaborations, like, looking at need, but usually the first step is to do like a little internal audit or internal research or like a needs analysis, thinking about you as a company, what are your current needs and your future needs. And but also if you have those covered, so what are the things that are happening outside of your space? So like things happening in your local area, in your local community, that you can offer something to. And often when we think about what we can do, we think in terms of money. And yes, money is important.
Yeah, you always think about it.
Absolutely, donation is important. But if you're not in the position of thinking about money, then you could think about what is, have you got the time? Have you got the space? Or have you got the skills? And if you have any of those, then those can be a form of helping as well, like donation as well. Like you can donate your time, you can donate your skills. So just an example, so if you have somebody that is really skilled in learning, in speaking a language, or somebody really skilled in dealing with finances, can that go beyond that? Like can people in the local area, like can you teach them something about that? Or if you have a space, so like lots of organizations have a space, like a physical space, and but sometimes their spaces are closed over the weekends or in the evenings, and but could that space be used for classes for kids, or like for something that people can do? So there are lots of ways of your organization offering not necessarily just money, but space, skills, and time, in a way that would also have an impact in the local area and in general.
Okay, and now you are from Brazil, that you were working, working and living since you were like really young, as you explained me one time here in the Cowork. Like you have been living in the UK, London, for like almost all your life. So you think it's different, the consideration like companies in Portugal and UK have about the social impact that they do? You think like, I don't know how they act. They are different countries. They are from the European, well, not now, but they were for like a long time from the European Union. So do you think like it's different, like the considerations that they have, they are same, or what they do like UK for doing these things? Because I believe in the UK, in this example that I'm going to give, they talk a lot about mental health. They have it this always super top priority. Like, I don't know if it's companies, but I think the issue is really well addressed. I'm from Spain, and this issue is not something like people really talk about. Like, we talk, but doesn't have the same impact like in the UK when I saw like news and stuff. So do you think like it's different, or what they do in the UK to be like that important? Like, why they consider it such an important issue?
Yeah, I think there is a culture in the UK that if you think about society, if you think about civil society and you support, it's just like the right thing to do. And I think it's not true to everybody, or it's not true to all the spaces, but it's a normal thing that, you know, there are lots of charities in the UK that you guys call here the ongish, but although they are charities and they address social needs, there are charities that are addressing policies, there are charities that are addressing future needs. So it's not necessarily just about the service delivery, it's not necessarily just about, you know, the thing that you can see is like, you know, helping people at hospitals or helping people in the streets. It's about helping people trying to stop getting to that place. So like supporting people where they are. So supporting people with mental health, for example, to avoid them getting to have to go to the hospital, avoiding them getting to go to any other places. So in that way, you are taking care of society, taking care of people, right? So addressing the need at the root cause of the problem. So like, what are the policies that can change? What are the processes or things that can be changed to address the need at the root cause, not at the end? Because if you are just giving, like example is like if you're just giving food to the poor, which is something that is needed, like if you have people that you need to help, of course, but then are you actually changing the problem or just maintaining, perpetuating the problem? So there is a mindset. Exactly. So there is a mindset. So what do you need to do to change the problem? So you need to train people, you need to give them jobs, you need to support them with mental health, support them with housing. There's so much that can be done. And so I think in the UK there is a culture of like maybe thinking about those levels a bit more than in especially, I think, I don't know much about Portugal and I don't know much about Brazil, to be honest, but I think there is a culture of thinking about the root cause of the problem rather than just the end cause of the problem, and I think that's what the difference is in that space. So if we were able to think about, okay, so mental health is a problem in my company, so what's causing the mental health problem? Yeah, we can give all the support to the workforce as possible, but what's causing the mental health? Is the culture in the organization? So we need to change the culture. Is the longer hours, the salary? So things have to be thought at the root cause, and I think that's what, for me, that's what I sense is the biggest difference from why from my experience so far.
See, I mean, like, of course, like the UK has a lot of, I mean, like you said, like they address the problem differently, and of course it's obvious because we hear about it all the time. I think it's an issue super open, and like sometimes when you see like pages on Instagram that they are like from UK, like they're always constantly talking about this. So I think like it's really nice that they talk about it and that they are really doing something different instead of like just like doing something to feel good about themselves, like helping people, but not like solving the problem. That I think everybody does it, and I don't think everybody does it in a bad way. Like when you give money to the people that it's in the street, for example, you don't do it because it's like you don't do it with a bad intention, but if you think about it, you're not helping much to the problem to be solved. It's just like the next tomorrow is going to still be there, this poor person that it's on the street. So yeah, I think it's a very complicated issue, this thing of social impact. So then we were talking about how organizations can help to create like this social impact, good cause, or like make this a priority. And you said trainings, you said like offering spaces. Well, you said different of examples. And what are the results? Like how you can see these results, or in what the results become when you do this?
Yeah, so the results are like, I think I can give an example of in what's happening in the UK. So a clear example is like when you strengthen people in society, there is connections that work well, and then so over the last few years, there is a borough in London called Waltham Forest, and it's like a local area, and there has been lots of investment in the area, in the local community, investment in making connections, investment in the different like supports, like either for homelessness or for support people from different faiths and ethnicities to come together. Lots of like different support has been over the last couple of years. And so when the pandemic hit in March last year, the first thing they did, they were so well connected, they were just able to act. They met once and they're like, okay, we know exactly what we need to do. We know exactly how to help people. We have this network, like we're strong, we can do this. And but in the areas that there wasn't much of that like connection or that communication, that they acted like in a different way. That it was quite slow pace. They were not sure how to do it. So I think so when you really invest in society and either social impact with programs or all of that, you're creating those connections, you're creating those links. And so you're strengthening society to be able to benefit. So it will benefit, everybody will benefit, right? So if society is stronger, then not just in a pandemic, but in any case, they were able to address better, to deal better. And so there are lots of case studies for better health outcomes. Like, people are healthier, so they need less hospitals. Economy is better, so the economy is doing really well, so the country is richer. So there are so many outcomes from like a very personal outcome for the person that is receiving some training or is getting connected, rather than be isolated, to bigger outcomes of like the economy can really flourish.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
Go on.
Sorry, I thought that you finished, but I wanted to say like when you're talking about like, for example, in this case, okay, of course we're talking about this country right now in this talk. You say that the country gets a lot of help and gets a lot of everybody addresses this social impact very nicely, but all these helps that you were talking about, like for example these local neighborhoods, that they were addressed, they were put it nicely for people to be able to be living there, people with not such a good conditions. This is like government that does this, like invest money, or it's like local companies, like it could be like a bank or like a regular company of public relations, for example. Like this is my question, because they're doing so well, but I would like to know from where it comes. I don't know how it's organized.
It can be a mixture of both. So like government has some say and intervenes in that, but there are quite a lot of banks and large companies that would they have a funding, and they would fund some projects in the areas. So they would say, they will get people to apply for them to do a project, and they'll offer some money for that project. Like no strings attached. Like just take the £10,000 or take the £5,000 to deliver this project. And of course, it will look good for the bank, it will look good for the company because they get some PR. But at the same time, there is a return because the people that is receiving the money, they're able to do so much for that money. They're able to provide so much in the local area. So so in the UK, there is a lot what we call funders, a lot of philanthropy, like funders from government. Like government funds a lot of projects, but there's so much more on the private sector as well. So much.
And for example, now that you said about this, that companies doing this because of the PR, the publicity, do you think like most of the companies, like not now in the UK, but like in an international way, do you think like companies will just like use this as a way of having publicity and not much because of the social? Like you saw an example, or any case that there was like company selling this to have publicity, but they're not doing this? Like it can be the case, it can happen, or it's difficult. Like
I haven't I've seen companies that have been shamed publicly. I won't tell them now like which ones, but like companies that have been shamed on the newspapers, on the news publicly. And then because of that, they thought, I'm going to give some money to these local organizations to help them. So that happens. And so they want some good PR. But I think if the end result is local areas getting some money to improve them, then the company is getting some PR for that. What's the problem with it? And of course, like some companies are not paying taxes and that's why they do this. But I mean, you can choose. Yeah. You either get it or not get it. So like, it's a right. We have to be pragmatic about it. If local areas need money, need change, then I mean, yeah.
I mean, like, of course, like, I understand, like, if you are in a company, you also always think about yourself first, like, in case of okay, I'm going to have publicity, I need those things to my company keep surviving. So of course I think it's really nice to use this because you're doing a good action, and also you're taking something back. But I was just like going that way, like, okay, there's any company that we're trying to sell something, but then it was not happening. And now, for example, like, you consider, like, in the UK, like, which is the social things that they are more like focused on the companies. Like, I don't know if, like, while you work in this area, even though you are freelance, for sure, like, you have a lot of information of all the companies doing these social offers and donations. So which are, like, in the UK, like, top one that companies want to invest on?
I think there's a lot to work on with young people, like to develop them, to train them, or like maybe some programs, like coaching programs, where companies are matched with young people in schools, and they coach a group of young people. So when I was young, when I was in school, there was a company that came to my school, and there was a coach. There was somebody that saw me once every term, and she would help me, like, think through, like, what I want to do in life, what I want to do after school, and then she helped me thinking about the opportunities out there, outside of that space, because as a young person, you don't really know where to go for those things. But if you have somebody that can spend some time with you, and especially if your parents or your family is not from that kind of background, like, if you have somebody that can support you and think things with you, it's quite useful. So I think there's a lot of work for young people. As you mentioned, there's a lot of mental health, and but there was quite a lot. I think there's quite a lot of sometimes very specific work, like faith or policy, or like there was very specific work, or wages, like, or it's about community. So for example, some communities in the UK are said to be quite segregated, like, or quite not very integrated in the British life. So companies can say, we want to invest some money on this community because we want them to feel part of it, and what we can do to get them involved. And we had lots of talks earlier last year about ethnic groups, ethnic minorities, and Black Lives Matter, all of those things. So if people can invest in making sure that everybody's considered, that across all the groups of society are considered and are involved, then that's great as well, isn't it? So, and companies can have an impact on those things.
And the companies, like, inside a company, you can see, like, a department just taking care of the social part. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, because I really don't know, like, if in Portugal, I don't know about much neither about, like, big companies. But I will, like, okay, like, you can see, like, this is something, like, really important there, just like having a department to be taken care of. Okay, it looks, well, it sounds super nice as well.
Yeah. In the UK, there is usually a department called the social responsibility, where it looks at those things, but it's often linked with PR, which is okay. But
like, they are the ones, like, know how to develop and, like, sell, and know how to go up contracts and stuff. Like, but there's something, like, integrated to PR. Come on, like, it's like social. Okay, that's nice. And for example, you said that you're a freelancer. You take, like, civil society strategist, and also you're social science researcher. Like, what do you do, or what is, like, this description about, and what is, like, your main like, expertise or something like that?
So my main expertise is working with civic organizations. So I worked applying for, I'm the one that thinks about how to strengthen civic organizations. So I worked as an organizer, community organizer for over 7 years. And my experience working with the private sector or the public sector or the charity sector, it was in that, because if we want to strengthen civil society, we need to think about who can do that. And truth is, government and the market sector, the private sector, they have the most power, right? So, like, they have the money, they have the everything.
Yeah.
So if from local charities, if you want to work with them or do more projects, then you have to learn how to work with them. So that's my experience. But at the moment, I'm currently doing a PhD on social policy. So thinking a lot about this relationship, like, how to build these relationships in civil society, and what are the benefits. Like, I want to prove that there are benefits of creating those connections, and the benefits are for civic organizations to be the ones leading those connections, because if we have a stronger civil society, then we have a stronger society. General point. So this is my argument. So this is a lot of what I think about all the day.
Okay, so basically, you said like a big description. So maybe you will, like, for what I get, it's maybe you will be the one helping the companies get in touch with another one to create like a social, to address social and help the issue that whatever they want.
Sort of, yeah. So I worked in a local area, and then we would look at local needs, and we always start with the people. We don't start with the companies, we start with the people. So we think, okay. what are the biggest needs in these areas, and who can help us address them, and then we'll target the people that we want to address those needs. And either being by money, using money, or changing policy, or creating a program or a project, whatever that is, and then creating a plan or a campaign to change those things. And sometimes it's very hard work, takes sometimes months, years, and but it's quite satisfying that sometimes really big things can happen, big changes can happen, and which will have a massive impact for people in general. So, but like sitting on the other side, so thinking about if companies are, sometimes there are good people, like not sometimes, most of the time you have great people. So if they are thinking, I really want to do something, but I'm not sure where to start. So I'm here to say, come and, let's talk about this. Let's think about how we can make that happen.
And also companies can look for you. Sometimes you start with companies, you say that mostly you start with people, you address first a problem and then you try to get solutions. But sometimes people can, I don't know, like if your availability is like companies contact you, say like, listen, we need somebody that help us address this exact issue that we want to support. This can be also part of your job, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
Well, totally. Thank you so much. I mean, we're already arriving to the half an hour, but I just want to say, like, I think this is a really satisfying job that you're doing. I think like you help a lot of people. And of course, when you're in a company, you, as we said, like you can help people. But I believe like your job is really starting with the people that really needs that help. So I think like it must be such a satisfying job. And well, I mean, I don't know, like to say like thank you, because not a lot of people likes to do like the hard job that I believe it's this one. So thank you so much for the talk. I really liked it. And I think...
No, thank you for inviting me.
I think maybe more in the future, companies, also big companies. I think big companies will have it already, but like small and medium companies will address this problem more often in the future. Let's see, let's hope. So thank you so much, Anna. I'm just going to say that next week event, we're going to receive Tiago Shaib, and he's going to talk about how to restart. Like he's going to give us tips about how to restart a business. So that would be pretty nice as well.
Very good.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for having us.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye. And thank you as well to the people who is looking this live. Thank you.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye.